right, we're going to roll into our final driver media availability here on the desk this afternoon, I should say, before we roll into the media bullpen. So we've now been joined by Chase Elliott. Chase, thanks for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. We'll go ahead and go to questions. If you have a question for Chase, raise your hand, and we'll work to get a mic to you. We're going to start up front.
Chase, consistency has been a key word for your season so far, but it seemed like you really stepped the wick up at maybe Charlotte and Kansas. Any changes in the team, or what have you all found here in the last few weeks?
I think, Kansas, honestly, Wilkesboro too, I thought was, a solid week for us. And then, I thought we had a really good car last week at Charlotte as well. So, I think a product of a lot of hard work and just a collective effort of trying to make some improvement. And that's always the goal, just keep chipping away. And I think the team's in a really good spot. We had had a really good week on pit road. Really, they kept me in the game last week, and they gave me 2 or 3 on every pit stop, and I'd give away 5 or 6. So it was, frustrating night on my end. But, I thought the car performed really well. All the pieces of the puzzle were really in place. So just need to continuously work on my craft and make sure that I'm doing my part.
And also 3 concrete tracks on the schedule here, Dover and Bristol. You've won all 3. What about the concrete surface fit your driving style?
Yeah, I don't really know that it's I guess it could have been the concrete, but I didn't really think about it like that. I don't guess. I think we just we've fortunately had some good runs at those 3 tracks. I don't necessarily have one reason. I think it's probably a lot of reasons, truthfully. So I hope that this weekend's another good effort for us. And it's never about, for me, it's never about, hey, you won here however many years ago, you should be good. It's what have I got going on right now? What is our team doing well right now? What do we need to improve on to be good here this weekend? Just because so much changes. I'm more of kind of what's going on lately type of person, and I just think the performance is really centered around that more than it is historical practices and things that happened years ago.
And how does the NASCAR Cup Series champion swing getting a week early preview of a movie like you saw this week for Ballerina?
It was cool. They just offered, and I said, yeah, absolutely. So I've seen a couple of John Wicks over the years, so really appreciate them having me out.
Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
All right, we have a question. Mark, did you have a question in the back? Yep. There we go. Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Mark Carroll, PRN. Chase, how do you view your playoff situation? We're in the second half of the regular season. We've only had 8 winners. You're the highest, way above the cut line of the drivers who haven't won yet because of your consistency. Just how do you view being so far above the cut line in your picture of the playoff right now?
Certainly better to be in that position than on the other side of the fence, no doubt. But I'd be lying if I said that was my top focus. It's just not. I think that if you're worried about barely getting in to the playoffs, I think you have some work to do. It really is kind of the best way I can think about that. And just to talk about my thought process, I want to be better than that. I want to be in the group of people of how many playoff points do you have, not just barely getting in. So that's just our expectations and goals are above that, and we hope that we can achieve all of our goals. But again, nice to be on that side of the fence, no question. But there's also a lot of racing left, between now and the cutoff. And if you win, then your problems are likely solved. And if you don't, and you have a bunch of winners, you could find yourself in a tough spot. We've been in that spot before too. So just want to not find ourselves in a tough position, come the end of week 26 or whatever.
All right, additional questions for Chase? Okay, we'll come up front.
Chase, a little bit along that lines, the top 32 are set after tomorrow night for this in-season challenge. With the eye on the big picture of the playoffs, how interesting is it week to week, trying to win each week? Or how much do you keep an eye on that in-season challenge and trying to win that prize? $1 million is not bad.
Yeah, for sure. I think, similar to the last question, it's all of the point stuff. It all takes care of itself when you just do your job. So that's kind of my approach to all those things, and it just does not do you any good to worry about those things. Our expectations and our goals are to try and be amongst those teams that have opportunities to win regularly. And if you're doing that, you're going to get your turn, and if you're not, then you won't. And it's really that simple. So I think that if your goals and your expectations are in a high enough place and where they should be, the stuff that goes on the side will sort itself out, and that's kind of how I view that as well.
Okay, we'll take two here, and then if I can get a microphone to far left over here to Dalton. Go ahead.
Jonathan Howard on 3 Sports. Without a stage win or a race win this season, do you get a little anxious for those kinds of things while you're trying to manage these good finishes and be consistent?
No, I don't. I wouldn't say I'm anxious about it. I just want to go and achieve it. It's those are our goals, and those are the things that we want to go out there and achieve. But no, I guess to answer your question, I don't feel any anxiety from that. I just want to make it happen, and get the job done.
All right, Lee.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and Catchfence.com. You've had a really good record at Michigan in the past. I think you started your career there with 3 second-place results. How important is it to do well?
I remember.
How important is it to do well at that track since it's home to the manufacturers?
Yeah, for sure. It's always good to, go to Michigan and have a good run. It's certainly changed a lot, over the years, just with how the cars have changed. But the racetrack itself is like the most consistent place I've ever seen for a racetrack that has those hard of winners. It just doesn't seem to get old, which is, kind of crazy. But I enjoy going up there. It's if you've never been to Michigan in the summer, it's actually really nice. Highly recommend. So I always enjoy going up there, in the summer months. And certainly a great place to have a good run for GM and everybody involved there. They do a lot for us.
All right, we're going to go to Dalton. Go ahead.
Hey, Chase, Dalton Hawkins at Front Stretch. I'm sure you've seen the comments maybe from Elton Sawyer. He said on Sirius XM this past week about the possibility of increasing horsepower to the next-gen car. In your opinion, do you feel like that is something that'll help the product with the short track racing? And if so, how much does it require to see a difference?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not super in tune with what those numbers are, or like what's being talked about as far as how far they want to go with it. So I don't know that I'm super educated on kind of what's possible, what's even true or not true. I think it'd be worth a shot, if the engine manufacturers are willing to do it. And that's probably going to be a question for them, truthfully, because they're going to dictate how much power we can give the current packages that we have and still have the longevity and the reliability that we expect to have, because I think we have to run them 3 times. So I think without having a total overhaul, you got to play within those walls, right? And I think the engine manufacturers are going to have to get on the same page and agree to a number, which is always difficult. Throughout my career, it's like, Chevrolet might want one thing, Toyota might want something else, and Ford might want something different. And everybody kind of plays to their strengths as to what they think they have the leg up on, right? And that's just the game. So you're going to have to get all of them to agree, which in my view, is going to be a difficult thing to do. But hopefully they can, and everybody's willing to give it a shot, somewhere, just to see if it makes a difference. It might not do anything, but it might really help. And until you try, I don't know that you really have an answer.
All right, we're going to go Deb and then Larry Woody. Go ahead, Deb.
Deb Williams, Auto Week. Chase, at various times in your life, you've snow skied and snowboarded in the higher elevations of the western mountains. So you're aware of the physical activity and all at a higher elevation. With Mexico track being more than 7,000 feet, what are you doing to prepare for that elevation you'll be racing in?
Yeah, I think just, I had thoughts of trying to get somewhere, with the higher elevation before the weekend or before going down there, but I'm not so sure that my schedule is going to allow that, to happen. So I'm going in earlier than I would typically go in, for a race weekend for Mexico City, and a lot of reasons for that. One of them being, to your question, and just to, hopefully alleviate, any kind of sickness or, not feeling good. I visited Mexico City a month or so back, and we did some media events, for the race. And fortunately, I felt fine. I felt good. We were only there for a day or two, but I felt okay, that whole period of time. Granted, I wasn't, pushing my heart rate or running or, anything like that, so that might be different. But, hopefully it's like that again. I felt normal. So just, kind of wait and see when you get on track, kind of how you feel. But going to go in a little early, and hopefully that alleviates, all that stuff. Yep.
Hey, Chase, Larry Woody, how's your pop doing? Does he get
Doing
to
good.
attend many races? And do you still kind of rely on him sometimes for advice or counsel when things aren't going too well?
Oh, yeah, he's doing good. He comes to the races every now and again, not a ton. He's, enjoys his time away from the racetrack, and I think, he's earned that right. He ran around this deal for a long time, so he seems to be enjoying that, which I think is great, and love to have him when he does come. And yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he keeps up and pays attention, and he keeps his eye on us, and hope hope we don't have to have many of those conversations. Right? You just want to keep trucking and keep plugging away, and keep working hard. And he's done it long enough to know that this deal is going to have ups and downs, and that's just part of racing. So. But yes, if that is needed, he's always there for that.
All right. Chase, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck
Thank
this
you.
weekend.
Appreciate it.
All right. And a friendly reminder to all the media here.